Okay. So, okay. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. Um, Today's session is going to be session 29, How to Build a Digital Escape Room. And today's presenter is going to be Paige Wheeler. Just a couple of reminders. Please make sure you have your first and last name on your screen. That way we can provide proper documentation. And one way to do this is you can hover over your screen and click the three dots on your right hand and rename and click rename. Or you can click on the participant list. And then other reminders, you will be getting your certificate within a week and a half from now. And then you can go ahead and check out our website and our social media, our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So I am going to share the link to our website in the chat. And now I will turn it over to Paige.
Great, thank you. Give me one sec. All right. Finishing this so I can give you guys an extra bonus resource at the end of today's session. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so thank you all for coming today. As Alessa said, my name is Paige Wheeler and I work with the STEM Outreach Center as a program specialist. Today's session is on how to build a digital escape room, and this is part 4. So we're going to be talking about Google Slides today, or Google Sites today. And yeah, so couple disclaimers before we get started. One, I am doing these sessions and I'm building digital escape rooms because I find them fun and intriguing and interesting. I've tried out several in-person escape rooms before everything started getting shut down. And then last fall, I discovered these digital escape rooms that other people had created online. I was like, that's sort of cool. I want to try that. And so I did, and I've been making them about one a month since about October. So what I'm going to share today is what I have discovered, what I have learned through my process of creating them. So I am not the be-all end-all expert of escape rooms or digital escape rooms. So if you have tried them out or even created some of your own, I'd love to hear your experiences and your thoughts about how these could be used or you have used them in your classrooms. Second, we are talking about Google Sites today. But again, I am not a Google certified anything. I have no Google certifications at all. I am again sharing what I have learned through my exploration of using Google Sites and Forms and other tools in building digital escape rooms. So again, if you have more experience with the Google suite of applications and products and you know a little bit more, I'd love to hear what your experience is, and so that we can make this a collaborative learning space for everybody who's participating today. All right, so with those two disclaimers out of the way, let's get started. And we're actually going to get started with a quick poll. And this is just for me to get a sense of what you guys are coming to the session with. So have you attended any of the previous sessions on how to build digital escape rooms that I've offered this semester? And where do you feel like where do you feel you are when it comes to Google Sites? Is this going to be like your first time experience it, or do you know all the things and want to go further? Give it a few more seconds. I don't know how well polls show up on phones. So I think I'm going to end this now and I will can share the results. So thank you for sharing. I see we have some returners. So thank you, Ms. Jarvis, I'm guessing. Hopefully this will answer maybe some more questions that you've been playing around since listening to the design piece and maybe exploring some sites that are some other escape rooms that are out there. This does tie into some of what we talked about in Google Slides. So I hope that you'll find some nice tie-ins. And great, I'm glad you're starting to learn. I'm not sure who we have with us on the iPhone, but at any point during this presentation, if you have questions or comments, or I'm going too fast, or you didn't quite catch something, feel free to drop it in the chat, or we're a small group, so just unmute yourself and shout out. Okay, so I'm going to get started with my slideshow first. All right, so again, I'm Paige Wheeler, and we did our poll. So there are probably a lot of reasons why you could use Google Sites. I've pulled together sort of 3 general buckets. And those are 3, flexibility and design. You can have a lot of different puzzle options when you're using Google Sites, and I find it's a nice way to keep all of your materials together. So what do I mean by those 3 things? So flexibility and room design, I think Sites is really nice. It can be set up either for linear escape rooms or parallel escape rooms. So I've talked in the Google Forms and the Google Slides sessions how those platforms are really good if you have one storyline that you're continuing and following in a linear fashion. Maybe you're following a character through a novel, maybe you're following events in history, maybe you're following a specific scientific process. It could be something else, but those are just some examples off the top of my head. So you want the students to solve each puzzle one at a time, and it's important how they solve that they follow the certain order. You can also set that up in Google Sites, and there's a couple different ways you could do that. But Google Sites also gives you the flexibility, or a little bit more flexibility, to set up parallel escape rooms. So what do I mean by that? I've created more parallel escape rooms where it doesn't matter what order you solve the puzzle in. So if we had, you can imagine if there's a group of students working on this together, they're each finding and solving a different puzzle at the same time, and then they're bringing their answers back together to finish, to escape. So it can also cut, if you do a parallel escape room in a group setting like that, it might cut down on the time you need for implementing it in your classroom. That's just a thought. But it just means you don't have to solve in a particular order. You can sort of jump around. And Google Sites is, there's ways to set it up so it's really easy to do that as well. And I'll show you that when we get to the sample portion. Google Sites is a website builder, so it offers a lot of flexibility in how you set up your pages, how you arrange them. If you go and look through varieties of examples online of other digital escape rooms, you can see a lot of different formats that people have used, creators have used to set them up. I have a format that I sort of like. It's sort of all following down in a line. There's other people that balance their like their form on one side and then all their clues on the other side. So there's different ways to do that, and you do have that flexibility to customize it how you want and what's going to work best for your escape room. You can also customize the themes, the font, the color, the headers to add character to your site. There's, I think, a little bit more flexibility there than in Google Sites than in Google Forms in that aspect. But you could debate that Google Slides maybe has more flexibility in how things are designed because you can create the entire slide from scratch. But sometimes creating that entire slide and building it really pretty can take, it can be a bit time consuming. So I think Google Sites offers a nice balance of design versus time. And I think a recent update, I don't have an exact date on it, but think fairly recently in the last several months, Google has updated sites so you can now customize your fonts. You can change the type of font. So any font that's available through Google Font is now usable in Google Site. I think before it was sort of more limited based on what theme you chose. You can also customize the size. You can change the exact font size that you want, and you can also change the colors as well. And then you can you have the option to change your headers. So you can change the size of your header, you can change the image of your header, you can upload or pull images from the internet, or you can just get rid of your header if you don't need that for the page that you're working on. And then you can customize your navigation controls. You can hide pages in your navigation. You can make things as sub pages. There's a lot of different options there to help your participants navigate through your site the way you want them to. All right, there are also lots of different puzzle options. So we can still use Google Forms as a nice locking mechanism. And I noticed you weren't in that session, but if you're more interested in that, the recording should be up soon if it's not already on the NMC3 website, and I'll talk about a little bit how those work. But I find Google Forms to be very nice as a way to ensure that the participants have the answer. I want them to have the correct answer to solve the puzzles before they finish. You can embed pictures, you can embed videos, you can embed maps, you can embed calendars. You can also use buttons or links or pictures or text as links to an external site or to another page in your own website to help navigate and include different resources. And then if you're a little bit more tech savvy than I am and you know how to create widgets with different types of software, you can create those on other sites, other platforms, and then use embedding codes to put them directly into the page on your own site. And I'll show you a little bit of what embedding looks like through the Google ecosystem. But there's lots of different things you could do for puzzles. And then I think Google Sites is a nice way to keep all of your materials together. You're building a website, you're hosting all of your things together. When you are Google, because it's a Google product, it integrates really nicely with Google Drive. So if you're collecting your resources there, it's really easy to upload them and then embed them into the site. And yeah, sort of keep everything together so your students don't have to search all over the internet if there are some internet use concerns about where they're going. That you've set up the site, you control everything that's on it, and keep everything together. All right, so that's sort of why I think you might want to use Google Sites. And now we're going to actually go over to Google Sites to look at some tips of how do we actually do this. All right, so that was the surprise. We'll look at that one a little bit later maybe, but we're going to start here. And I didn't reset this, I apologize. All right, so this is the folder that I want to build it in. I prepped a couple materials to help make this session go a little bit quicker today. So how to get into Google Sites. I think there are two nice ways to get into Google Sites. The first is if you're in your Google Drive, I am in a folder where I want my site to be stored. I can go to the New button and then go down to More, and then I have Google Sites. And I can just click that and it opens a new site that will be stored in that folder that I opened it from. The other way to do it is to go to a brand new tab in your favorite internet browser and just type in sites.new, and I have caps lock on, and click enter, and you will go directly to a new Google site. So either sites.new or the new button, add new button from your drive. All right. And if you're at a computer and you want to open up sites.new to follow along, you're more than welcome to do that as we go through the session today. All right, so for our first thing, I'm going to title my site just so I have something here. And when I was sort of prepping for this, I chose sort of a medieval quest theme. So I am just going to title this Escape Quest. And that's just the page title here. So I need to enter the name for my site where it'll show up on the little tab here. And then it'll also show up here. This is sort of your file name, like any other Google Doc or sheet or slide. All right, so there we have, I've got a name for my site. And I think I want to change, let's get a different theme. So over here on our our right-hand side of the screen, we have our sort of toolbars that we'll use to build everything. So we're going to go over to the one called themes, and Google Sites has 6 built-in themes at this point. So we have the simple, there's Aristotle, there's diplomat, vision, level, and impression. I think I like the level today, but I'm not really a fan of that yellow. So I could make it blue or pink or green or this gray color, or I can go over here to the color bucket and pick any color I want. I sort of want, I think, a purpley color. Maybe like that one. I think that looks like a cool purple color. So I'm going to use that as my style. And then I can also pick sort of the default font. You can have the slab that has more of a serif font. You can have a narrow font, but I'm good with the sans font. I think that one looks nice and crisp. And I can always go back and tweak that later, like I mentioned. So if I wanted to, I could select all and then come up to my font. If I want something that's a bit more medievally looking, maybe. I don't know if there's one here. Let's do Lobster. There's sort of a scripty font. Maybe we're on a medieval scroll or something. May not be the best option depending on your grade level. You'd want to make sure your kids can read script fonts before choosing that, but you have a lot of different options here. We could also change the color of the font, make it stick out a little bit more. Maybe we'll pick a bold purple. And then maybe I want to change my header to let it stand out a bit. So we have some basic Google headers here, so sort of default options. If you have something in your Google Drive or in a Google photo album, or you can go to search, and I want to say map. I didn't try this before, so maybe I don't want to search map. Maybe I want to search parchment. I think that's what I want. Let's do that. And I like this one. And then there we go. I have my header. It's been customized a bit. And I think we're going to make the font a little bit lighter to read it a bit better. Not that one either. So I played with this a little bit, but not fully. So some of this is just me live playing around, and you can see there's different options and you can customize it as you like. Okay, so I'm going back to the insert section. So this is where I can add things to my site. And one thing that I prepped in preparation for this is a sort of a hidden picture. So from the Google Slides, I talked about having that hidden picture where I have all my links. I did a similar thing, but instead of using slides, I used Google Drawings. And I think there are some ways that I think Google Drawings is a little bit better than slides for this. I didn't reset that. That's okay, we'll keep it. All right. And I'll go into those in a minute. So I want to resize this because this little default picture, that's too small. If I want kids to go in and click around there and find stuff, you barely can see it there. So I want to resize it, and it's just sort of drag to resize. So I'm going to want it the full width of my page. And then I want to make it longer. And you can just, again, drag down, but it stops me at the size of my screen. I can't really drag it further than my screen is big. So one way to get around that is if you use Control-, you can zoom out of your whole web browser, and then I can drag it a lot further and make it easier to resize. So I think I want it about there. And then just to go back in, the easy way to do it is click the magnifying glass and then reset. All right, so here's my image. I have a little bit of instruction there, but maybe I want to add a little more instruction above the image so people know what they're doing when they get here. So one way to do that, there's two ways to insert things. I showed you from the insert menu toolbar. The other way to do that is to double click, and then it brings up this 5-option add area. So we can add text, we can add an image, we can add an embed code, we can add something from the Google Drive, or we can upload something from our computer. So I'm going to add a text at the moment, but I don't want to do it there. So I'm just going to do undo. And I'm going to add it here because that way I can get the box where I want it. I'm also going to go over to the palette icon here for this section where I've added it. And I don't want there just to be a white box in the middle of the rest of my colored background. So I'm just going to change it to emphasis 1, which will make it the same as the rest of my background to sort of give a nice consistency as you're looking at the page. So I'm going to use a similar text, just sort of a welcome text. So hello, Noble Adventurer. Yay, I can sort of type today. We need your assistance to save the realm. All right, so there I have some basic text. I'm going to select all. I like centering things. I think that if I want to catch somebody's attention, put it right in the middle of the page. I'm also going to make this bigger. Right now it's set to a normal text setting. I'm going to make it a heading. And then I'm going to make a bit bolder font. I like the impact font. That's a nice one. And I can make it a little bit bigger as well. And if I wanted to, I could, change it and make it a purple color also. So again, you have lots of customization options for the font. So whatever your theme that you decide to do is, you can go all out. I haven't found a good way to change the default font. I don't think that's an option at this point. The best way to do that is to choose your font in your theme, in the themes setting. But so it can take a little while to do it every time. One way to get around that, if you're adding multiple text boxes on the page, there's this little option, the sort of the copy symbol next to a text box. If you click that, it will duplicate your text box directly underneath of where you have it. And so I could use this to give some more instructions, maybe as a subheading. So I will say seek in the image below to find the clues to save the realm. And if I wanted to, I can give more instructions. That can be especially helpful if your students are new to escape rooms. The first couple times you do one, it might be helpful to add more instructions or extra hints to sort of scaffold them so they know how to solve these puzzles. I can just say your cursor will change when you find a clue, and then enter your answers to the puzzles in the form below the picture. All right, and then again, I want to just enter these things up. Unfortunately, the Word, like if you're using Microsoft Words, the keyboard shortcuts for Control E to center things, or Control L to left justify, or Control R to right justify do not work in Google. You might be familiar with that with Google Docs, so you do have to use the align menu option. And I think I'm going to make these as a subheading as well to keep that formatting the same. All right, so we have our introduction, we have some instructions, we have our image, but we need our form as our locking mechanism. So to do that, I did prep a form. So I'm going to go down here, and I could do the double click and go from Drive, but there's a quicker way to get to Forms. So over here in our insert menu, if I scroll down, I have my 4 options. I have the different layouts I could use, or I have all these things down at the bottom. So there are 8 different Google apps that you can easily embed. So if you have a YouTube video in your account, a calendar, a map, docs, slides, sheets, forms, and charts, it's a quick way to get to them. So because if you go, when we did the Google Drive insert up at the top, it brought me just to my drive, and I have to navigate through my folders to figure out where my item is. If I come down to these and I click Forms, for example, it will only bring up my forms most recently used first, and then going in reverse chronological order. So I need this sample form that I created, and it didn't do that. All right, but that's okay. So it will insert directly under where I have my cursor listed. So since the last thing I made was this text box, it put it right there, but that's okay. These little, was it 8 dots, 10 dots? These little dots at the left-hand side of the section, I can use that to drag my items around wherever I want it to wind up. And then again, I like things being centered. So I'm going to move it there. It centers, it made it a little bit wider. I like that as well. And I just want to make this a little bit longer to make sure that you can see the whole form in one shot, so you don't have to scroll on the page. But that's a preference. If you want people to scroll down your form to make it a little bit smaller, that's an option as well. And if you like having things over to one side, you could make your form maybe about half the width of your page, and then have some text or images, links to your clues on this side. And that's a valid option. I've seen a bunch of sites, escape room sites like that. So again, a lot of this is personal preference, what you like, what you think works well for your style preferences. I like the way this one looks, nice and centered. Okay, so my home page is sort of set up. I've got some instructions, I've got my picture, I've got my locks, but now I need the clues. And so to do that, I'm going to come over to my toolbar again, go to Pages. And so right now we can see the only page in this site is the home page. To add a new one, I'm going to come down to the bottom, hit plus, and we're just going to call this new page Puzzle 1. And then I'm going to, I don't need to do the advanced feature, but if you want to set a custom path of where it's going to go, you can do that. I'm just going to hit done. And now I have a brand new page in my site. Just like the home page, I can retitle this. I probably don't want this to be called Puzzle 1. If this is, maybe there's a more thematic thing. If I had done a little bit more planning, I could, give this a name of a location or something. If this was a bit of a linear puzzle, I could, give it a title as we're going through. But I think I just want to leave my title area blank right now. All right, but now I need to add the content of my puzzle. So for this first puzzle, I think we're just going to make a text box puzzle. But we could do anything. When I've done puzzles in the past, or escape rooms in the past, the ones that are a bit more for fun, I like using visual puzzles or mazes or word puzzles that are pretty easy to solve with maybe just having some scratch paper. But if you're doing a content-based puzzle, you could do a picture or some content that they have to analyze based on whatever lesson you're tying it to. So lots of different options for what your content is. For this one, we're just going to make it really quick. And we're going to just say, greet your adventuring companions. Say hello. Right, and again, I like that in the middle. We'll make it a bit bigger. Okay. So I'm sort of just setting this up to go along with the sample form that I created. So one of my puzzles on that form, the answer is hello. But again, this could be anything. It could be a riddle, it could be a puzzle. We're going to make another page real quick. So I'm going to make another puzzle. We'll get rid of that. Maybe I want another text puzzle, but this one will be numbers, answers. Let's see, like maybe it's the castle lock requires 3 digits. Let's count to find them. All right, and this is just a number puzzle that I have on my locks. It says simple counting, 1, 2, 3 is the answer. And then I have one more bit more fun puzzle. So I'm going to add puzzle 3. And this one, I found a fun looking maze that I thought went with my theme because there's a campfire. So we want to find our way through the maze to get to the campfire for the evening. So this is saved as a picture, a JPEG file in my Google Drive. So I will come back. No, this one. I will come back over here. I'll add a little bit of text just to give some instruction. So find your way through the maze to the campfire. Remember the turns you take. And so I'm just getting those instructions set up, and then I can come over here and I can insert an image, go to select, and this will pull up my recent images, again, the same way with the Google Apps that were down below when I pulled my form. So this was one of the recent images I've added. And this isn't bad. I think I want to make it a little bit bigger so that it's easier for my participants to see. And then we'll just drag it down a little bit longer so it doesn't cut off too much. And I think that's a nice way, a good size, you can see it. And so the clue for this puzzle is to remember the turns you take. So if you start here, you need to come down, right, down, right, down, right, down, left, down. And so if we go back to our home page and look at the lock, you can see that one of our clues is a directional clue. And I give the key D, L, R, U as the options that they can put in to see there. Okay, so I do have all of my puzzles set up. I've got my homepage set up, but I want to check and see how it looks. So I can do that by clicking the preview icon up in the top menu bar, this little laptop plus mobile device, which is different than some other Google preview buttons, which look like an eyeball. But this one comes up, it shows me what my site looks like. And so you can see my navigation is up here. We'll fix that in a minute. One nice thing about the preview feature is you can change what kind of screen size you're looking at for your preview. So this one is currently set sort of as a default to large screen, so a computer or a laptop. But if you know your students are working on for iPads, for example, or some other tablet, you can choose to see what your site looks like on a tablet size. Or if you know your students are going to be using their cell phones or a set of classroom iPads or some iPods, if that's still a thing, I'm not sure, then you can see what it looks like on a phone size device. And you can scroll through and see how everything looks, and you can navigate to the additional pages. And so I can go and look, and it all works very nicely. But you, depending on the size of your fonts or the size of your images, if you've embedded things, you can use this tool to check and make sure that everybody's going to be able to access it really nicely in the way you want them to see it. All right, so that all looks good for now. So I'm going to go to exit. And so let's go look at the Google Drawing, because that's what we're going to go back to preview for a minute. So this one is sort of already set up. You can see that sort of similar to the Google Slides, when you're setting up those hidden puzzles, there's the one big difference between slides and drawings is in the slides, to make sure people don't move ahead before you want them to, you have to put the transparent rectangle sort of as a plexiglass protector in front of all of the images that you've added that you don't want them to touch. You don't need to do that in Google Drawings. This one, you can see my cursor does change because I forgot to reset this drawing after yesterday's session. So maybe I'll do that real quick. If you give me just a moment, we're going to make a copy of this. And then this one, we're going to remove those links, and then we're going to go back over here. So you can see right now, nothing happens. And then here, it does go to a different puzzle. So I'm going to reset this. So if I accidentally uploaded the wrong thing or the wrong version of a thing, it's really easy. You can just hit remove. And then I can go insert from drive again. Build session 4, extra, make a copy. All right, and so I'll just expand this. And there, that looks good. Great, so now if I go back to my preview, we have a blank image that has no links in it. And the things that were linked before are not, because I got rid of those links. So you can't click on anything in this picture. And that's okay, because the old links were to the wrong place. So I want to relink them to the correct places for this site. So in order to do that, I need to get my links. So I can't do that from the preview because this is the link to edit the site. I don't want people to come and be able to edit. And actually, if they weren't signed into my Google account, they wouldn't be able to. It would be a dead page. So what we're going to do is go home to our edit screen. And then I want to publish my site. So this purple button up in the corner, I hit publish. It gives me the options to have a web address. So like the one I created yesterday, if I wanted space, it tells me that's already taken. But Escape Quest with no space is not. So I think that's fine for what I want to do. I don't really want people to search this particular site because it's just a sample. And then when I'm ready, I can hit publish. There's that one other option. You can change who can view your site. I don't really mess with that because I generally make sites for public consumption. But if you're doing this just for your class, you may be able to limit it to just people from your organization. So if your school or district uses G Suite, for Education, for example, or Google Education, whatever that product is called, you might be able to lock it down so people have to be from your organization in order to access it. And there's just another security measure. All right, so now I see publish, and there's this, on that publish button, there's a little options menu that comes up. So I can change my settings at any time. If I've made changes to my site, I can review those changes before I publish them. I can unpublish the site. So if I no longer want it live, I can do that. And then I can view my published site. So now I'm looking at it instead of in preview mode, in the actual view mode that a visitor to my site, a student or whoever else, would see it as. And you can tell this by looking up at the URL. All Google sites start with sites.google.com/view. And then I have my site. So this one is Escape Quest, and this is the home page. So I want to link the other puzzle pages. So if I navigate over to puzzle 1, this little part at the end, I don't want to copy because that says this is I'm an authorized user because I'm signed in as my account. But I just want to take the beginning through the end of that puzzle -1. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come over to my hidden image. And puzzle 1 was saying hi to people. So I'm going to link that to this knight who I put into my picture. So I'm going to use the Control-K function to open up the link box, and then just going to paste that in and then hit apply. And that now it has a live link. And then if I come back over and go to my puzzle 2 page, do the same thing, copy that, go back, put on the money bag since we're talking about counting. You can also use this little chain icon from your toolbar, but I like the Control-K, it's really nice and easy. You can hit apply, and then the one more, puzzle 3. This is my maze, so I'm going to do copy, and then we'll link the maze to this parchment. All right, so now I have my image with my links, the links that work on my website. So actually, if I go back to my home page and it reloads, you can see that instead of just being the arrow cursor, I now have my clickable links in this image as well. All right, so one last thing before I would be ready to share this with the world is that I want these links in the picture to be the only way to navigate around my site. But right now I have this navigation bar at the top as well that says you can just jump to the different puzzles. I don't want them to do that. So I'm going to go back to my edit mode for my site. And I'm going to go back to my pages toolbar. And I'm going to use the 3 little dots to get more options of what I can do to those pages. And I can reset the home page. I can duplicate a page. Like I liked how the formatting was on a particular page, or if there's certain bits of content that I want to keep for a new page, I could just duplicate it. And so I don't have to do as much editing. So that's an easy way to get around some formatting issues. You can format your first page and then duplicate it and just change the words, change the content, but not the formatting. I can change properties. I can make it a sub page. So if I do that, if I want to have sort of puzzle 1 part A or part B, or multiple other pages, I can do that. And then what I want, I can always delete it. If I made it wrong or I made too many pages, I can get rid of them. But what I really want to do right now is hide it from the navigation. So if I click on that, you can see it no longer shows up here in my top navigation bar. And I can do that again for all of them. So now all of that navigation bar disappears. And so if I go back to my, if I just go back to my published site right now, and even if I refresh it, it doesn't change because I haven't made those changes live. In order to make those changes live and real on the internet, I have to click publish. It will always, once you have published a site, if you're sort of republishing, it will always show you like here, the one on the right is what is currently published and the one on the left is how you've changed it. And it gives you a list of the changes that you've made. If you're okay with all of them, you just hit publish. And now if I come back over to my live site and I refresh, let's refresh again. There we go. Just takes a minute to do all the thinking, but now you can see that bar is no longer there. I can't just jump around to my different pages. I have to use the links here. All right. And then we have the forms, so you can test it. One thing that I do like, when you do click on these links now, from the picture, they will open in a new tab, which is a nice feature because we're using a Google form as our locking mechanism. So if I see, okay, say hello, this is my first clue. And then I go and I click on another one, and I get this one. If I navigated off of this home page, like if I went to the puzzle page and back on the same tab, it would lose all of my answers. So I can, what's a way to do that? If I wanted to close this web page, it will tell me, you know, changes have not been saved, so you could lose them. And it would do something different if I tried to open one of those links in this same tab. And I'm going to click cancel, but that's because I have not submitted my form. So those aren't saved yet. All right, so let's find the last clue. And we have our directions. And this is RD. And the forms are set up, so these have to be the correct answers. If I misspelled one of it, it would tell me to try again. If I didn't set it in, I forgot to tell the clue, but if I didn't type it in the correct case, it will also tell me to try again. So I need to make sure that I have everything exactly as I've set the response validation. If my finger slipped and I mistyped a digit, then it will also give me the same incorrect answer. But there are my correct answers, so I can click next. And then I like, in my forms, I like giving them a congratulatory image or something. So I just have this trophy. Maybe I could have put in a bag of coins that might have been more thematically appropriate. And then just there's this reminder here that if I want to, for the answers to count to be recorded on my form, the participant does need to click submit. And now it has been recorded and I could try again to restart. Okay, so those are most of my tips for how to build a Google or an escape room on Google Sites. Any questions so far?
Not really questions. It just looks like something I'm going to have to play around with. I'm not that familiar with Google.
Yeah.
Our system didn't allow us to use it at all.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fine. I know some people don't like Google. You could do something similar on any of the popular mainstream web built site platforms. So you have your Wixes, your Weebly's, your Squarespaces. I think Microsoft has some version. I think it's called Sway. I'm not as familiar with like the Microsoft OneDrive suite of options. The specifics might be a bit different for other platforms, but I think most of them will be pretty similar. You'll have your adding options, your linking options, your navigation options, but you don't have to build these in Google Sites. It's an ecosystem that I've found is useful for escape rooms, so that's why I've used it, but it's not the only way to do it. You can do it on any website builder. Okay. But I think some of the principles remain of, either hiding your navigation or creating links or embedding things. I think, yeah, there's some similarities and crossovers. So if you don't have any questions, I did create a sample escape room that is all fully done, has a bit more of a story for everybody to try out. So here, I'll drop that link in the chat. So typically I would put you in a group with a breakout room, but since you're the only person, we can send you to a breakout room, or you can just try it here. We can try it together if you want. And you can sort of see what it is, what one version might look like. And this is, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I will let you follow that link and try out some of those puzzles.
Not quite sure where to put the answers.
If you keep scrolling down below the room image, there is on the home page, there's another Google form.
Oh, I see it.
Great.
I don't think I'll be able to do parts of this because I don't have a Google account.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, there's the one puzzle. So I can pull that one up and I can share my screen again. So yes, I do apologize about that. I
no.
made apparently the incorrect assumption that people who would be coming to this session did have or would have a Google account, but so on that page, if you click it, it's a Google Sheet that I forced a copy of. And because it's forcing the copy, you do have to have a Google account to store that copy. So this is what it looks like. I don't know that I can zoom in. Can make that a little bit bigger. I hope that's maybe a little easier to read. So the way it works is that you need to solve the math problems and it will reveal the hidden picture. So if you tell me the answers, I will type them in and you can see the image.
So 4, 9, 1. And is that a division or a plus sign?
Plus sign.
10 and 36.
Great. So this is your hidden image that should hopefully be a clue for that question.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go rogue this summer and just dive into Google.
I mean, I know people can have strong opinions one way or the other about Google since they're such a big tech giant, and I'm not trying to get into the politics of it. I just, for collaborative projects, I find Google to be very useful. I've tried using like Microsoft OneDrive in the past for collaborative projects, and I just find Google a lot more user-friendly if you need to do things like simultaneous editing.
Yeah, and a lot of the, like, there's a lot more to share between other teachers and doing stuff like this than there is with programs that we're using, but
Mhm.
what he doesn't know won't hurt him.
Yeah. I would say just, make sure whatever things you're sharing with your students, you have approval to share before you do it. I don't want to get anybody into trouble.
Oh, no.
So
of
that
course.
would be my only caveat there is don't tell them I told you to do it this way and get us all in trouble for using it in a restricted tool. But just as a tool, I think some of Google's features are very useful.
Yes, I'm able to maneuver around, but I can't, I don't know a lot of these answers.
All right, so is there another one that you're stuck on? Maybe we can work through them together. Because again, typically if there were more people, I'd put you in a break room to have a few more brains helping.
So on the ball, what number am I thinking of?
Yeah.
Set layout options are included on the insert menu.
Mm-hmm. So if you scroll further down that page, I did grab the screenshots. And so these are just screenshots of this editing menu. So here I had that toolbar or the menu that's for inserts. If I come back over to this one.
So is it all the 14 at the bottom?
No, so this is looking at specifically the layouts. So I didn't really talk about them, but these are options when you're editing. If you know you want to have one large image or embedded thing and then some text on the side, or two images split evenly, or a big plus some small images, or multiple images side by side. There are 6 total layouts here. And then second, how many Google apps can be embedded in the insert from the insert menu. So again, this is sort of where I was pointing out where I inserted the forms from. So your apps include YouTube, Google Calendar, Google Maps, Docs, Slides, Sheets, Forms, and Charts. So there are 8 of these.
Can I not count?
It's a long day. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the week. It's okay if we can't count sometimes. And then the last one, how many theme options are there? At the moment, there are 6 themes. The Simple, Aristotle, Diplomat, Vision, Level, and Impression. And then if you add those numbers all together, what do you get? Should be a 2-digit answer.
20. I hope.
If my math is right, it's 20. But we had, was it 6 and 8 and 6? I'm pretty sure that's 20.
And then long, that's the book, right?
Book is which menu or toolbar can you, in which menu or toolbar can you find the option to add, to customize your page navigation for a Google site? So this is, this is a Google Slides that I embedded. I took 2 pictures, 2 screenshots, and turned them into a small slideshow. And if you move between them, it should be auto-playing. I don't know why it wasn't. But it shows you.
And then there's 5, 6. I can't read them.
It's on the Pages menu. Right here, this little one. So if I go back over to the editor window, it's this pages menu. This is where I came
Oh, that I
and
get.
used the show in navigation or hide from navigation.
Got it. I lost my thing. There it is. What? Oh, I didn't read directions.
Yes, capitalization counts.
Try again, make sure everything adds up.
So if we said 20, 20 should work.
Well, on the pages one.
5-letter puzzle, you just need to type it, but make sure that you answer in all caps. So all caps pages works, but if I do it in lowercase letter or I don't spell it right, even if I do spell it right, it needs to be in all caps.
I know it's been a long week, but not that long. I had the answers in the wrong spaces, that's why.
That can happen too. And there, so then if I click next, I do give a little hint. If you submit and don't see anything, scroll up.
Escape this. Okay, so I got out.
Yay! Congratulations for not using Google Sites or being much in the Google ecosystem. Good job.
Yeah, I just started playing around with Google. I really like it. One of those things, I'll let him be him this year, but next year I'm gonna push a little bit. I did one like just paper and pencil escape room with my kids earlier in the year, and they absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm teaching 2 grades, and I think it would be more engaging, a lot more engaging than just paper and pencil. So
Yeah.
I really
No,
want to do more of this next year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, I started doing them, especially when most people were still, at least all the local districts that we work with were definitely still virtual. So putting a paper and pencil one together was sometimes difficult because I know some of our schools were like, no, you can't do any pickups anymore. We don't want people interacting. So then we're forced to do virtual things. But I think even when we go back, I think digital escape rooms, there's ways you could blend it. So maybe there's some puzzles that they have to solve pencil and paper, but then you use a Google form and even embedded in a Google site, but you use that form as the locking mechanism. So they don't have to necessarily come to you to verify that they've got the correct answer. They can enter it into whatever device. Maybe they have, and I don't know if your school has one-to-one devices or a couple devices per classroom that, you know, they can log in and just enter their answers real quick.
Yeah, we do have one-to-one, and I was able to make my Google Classroom that you showed us last time. I got that going, and I got some books in my bookcase, but a little bit at a time, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't think with technology and education, I don't think it should be like an all or nothing. You have to dive all in completely for everything, or you can't do anything. I don't think those are healthy or useful perspectives. I think we live in such a digital world that finding ways to incorporate technology that makes it more useful to our students so they don't just see it as a toy or an entertainment device, but as a useful tool for their education. Because I don't know what grade levels you teach, but as people are moving up and going into high school and definitely into college, a lot of their assignments are going to be computer based. A college professor probably doesn't want to read a 10-page handwritten essay, and I probably don't want to write a 10-page handwritten essay. So getting our students used to the technology tools that they're going to need in their later education or careers, I think is a useful thing to do.
Yeah, I have 2 autistic boys myself, so I see how much they like the electronics. And with my son, one of my sons, he kept coming home and he's like, I'm bored. Or how was school today? He's like, it's boring. But it wasn't meaning boring as I was thinking boring. It took me years to figure out he meant that being home on electronics is a lot more exciting than listen to a teacher lecture all day.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, so this is what he means. So I'm trying to include this for even my special needs kids and my autistic kids. They love this kind of thing.
Yeah. And one thing that I think could be a really cool way to use these is, again, I don't know what grades you're teaching, but I think middle school and high school, maybe possibly upper elementary, instead of having kids write a book report or an essay or, very dry, standard, old-fashioned assignments, have them create an escape room to prove their understanding of the concepts. Because in order to come up with the puzzles, they have to understand them. To be able to offer right or wrong answers, they have to understand the content. And it can pull in their creativity if they have to make a storyline. So I think it's a very multidisciplinary tool that could be an exciting way for kids to demonstrate understanding.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That would be awesome.
I've only recently come up with that one. So in the original, the design session that I did back in February, I guess, I didn't list it as an option, but I'm revising that now.
Even in differentiating, I have some higher, I teach 3rd and 4th, but I have some 4th graders on the high end that could be their book report rather than doing something else.
It could be, a linear puzzle following, if there's key plot points or conflicts in a story and they have to, follow the character and they have to, you're going to play the escape room as the character and get over each of these hurdles. Maybe you can thought it out that way, or, whatever you want. That's just one very low-hanging fruit example, I think, of a way it could be implemented.
Very cool.
But yeah, so that's most of what I had. Since I just finished it and you are here, I want to share the one that I literally just finished creating for Earth Day. There we go. Just need to get my chat back open. So I will be sending this out to more people later, but you two get the first go at it.
Woohoo.
If you want. So if you want to try it out, we can work through it together, or we can wrap up a few minutes before we plan to, and you can have the rest of your evening free after we do the raffle. I think you have very good odds for the raffle today.
Yeah, finally.
Great odds.
So this is, like I said, one I just created sort of for fun to celebrate Earth Day, but it's in the same style of the hidden picture and then finding the clues. This one just has a few more clues hidden around.
Was it based off a book or anything?
Nope, this was just, I wanted to do a puzzle. I've tried to do one each month. And so my planning process is to go look at the list of all the random, wacky, weird holidays that happen in each month and pick out the ones that I think are interesting, or I could create real quick. I'm letting somebody borrow an account. I need to approve it for them. Okay, there we go. And I knew that Earth Day was happening in April, and I know climate is a big topic, but I'm not trying to get political or anything. I just think it's a good holiday for people to be aware of. Like in March, I did Pi Day because I think it's a fun holiday that many people probably don't recognize. And then in February, I did President's Day. So I picked Earth Day. It was also towards the end of the month, which was nice. It gave me a little bit more time to work on it. I still waited till the last minute because that's just how some it goes sometimes.
So I need to sign in again for the coniferous or deciduous.
That is because I forgot to change my share settings. So I'm going to, well, you can see how that works. You're not familiar with Google, so I'm just going to go over to that. And I create, part of it is I created multiple versions of this. Anyone with the link can view, done. So thank you for showing. I'm going to make sure all of my share settings. That would be a problem. Nobody can see it because they're not me. This one should be already set. Nope. And yeah, I didn't do the okay, that should be everything. All right. But yeah, like I mentioned in the design session, that it's good to go and test it on a private browser where you are signed out of any Google account you might have so that you don't have that. And I just, again, I was finishing this as the session started, so I hadn't done that yet, but thank you for catching those. Makes me remember. It's always important to test. And so if you just refresh your pages, anything that was hidden should now show up.
Yep, I can see it now.
Great.
All right, so the coniferous trees, is that C-E-N and O, so cone?
Yep.
Yay me.
Are you playing along too, Alyssa? You're welcome
Yes.
to if you want.
I'm trying. I'm looking at the clues, but I'm still confused.
Well, share. What's your confusion?
Okay, so you click on the letter and then it takes you to one of the clues.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Which piece of litter did you choose? You're muted again.
okay, there we go. So I clicked on, let me go back again. Okay, I clicked the one by the trash can.
Okay, the sandwich container. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have the question. The first Earth Day was celebrated in what year? And then there's
There it is.
an infographic of the timeline or the history of Earth Day. You just have to find when the first one was celebrated.
Got it.
just got one more. I got it.
Congratulations.
That was cool.
And if you want to try out some more sites, specifically Google Sites Escape Room, I just dropped the resource page for this session into the chat, and let me reset these. So we've got lots of general resources at the top, a bunch of blogs or articles about how to use Google Sites, some video tutorials. If you want more video tutorials, you can just search, in your favorite. It could be YouTube, it could be another video site, but Google Site tutorial or how to Google Site, and it'll work really well. The caveat I would give is that anything posted before probably about 2016 might not be as applicable, either videos or blogs, because about 2016, Google did a major shift, a major change in the platform. So it went from Google Sites to new Google Sites, which is just now what we have as Google Sites. So things that are dated before 2016 are talking about the old platform model. And so I think I didn't use it at that point, but I think enough features have changed that they might not be the most useful tutorials. And even since then, if you're looking at things that are a couple of years old, they're probably good information, but the layout of the site or where things are specifically pictured, or like the preview button, it used to be the eyeball, and sometime in the last year or so, it has switched to that laptop and little mobile device icon. So just be aware of those small changes if you're looking for things that aren't absolutely current. Then there's some more puzzle ideas, and then there's a bunch of samples. And I have one more to add. Now everybody can see the Earth-Day one. But all right, so I will stop sharing my screen now, and I will turn it over to Alyssa for our wrap up.
Thank you, Paige. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just want to end by saying thank you for attending to our session 29, how to build a digital escape room. Thank you, Josephine, for coming. And I'm going to send the link to the survey. Please complete this survey and tell us how we're doing. Copy. And now post it in the chat. There we go. And as you're working on the survey, we're going to have a raffle. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and provide you with the link to
Winner! Yay!
to our winner. And so
Thank
we have
you
3
for
books.
sticking through.
I'm glad you still did it.
So let me go ahead and get the link for you. So we have 3 books that you can choose from. Control, Alt, Achieve. We have step-by-step guide to Google Sites. And then we have Unlocking the Potential of Puzzle-Based Learning. So then whenever I sent the link, make sure you specify which book would you like.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'll share the link with you. And that's the end for today's session. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.